Excuse me. And good morning to everyone. Alrighty. Let's see what this day brings, shall we? Yeah, sorry I haven't been online as the past couple weeks. Feels like just, again, super busy right now. Just really don't have quite the time to be online. But things are starting to kind of slow down a little bit here, so should be able to kind of get back in the groove of things. Yeah, Bitcoin pretty much went up to some of our targets. Didn't quite hit exactly where we'd like, but that's okay. And so I would say it's still pretty much doing everything you would pretty much expect. When maybe one person hops on, we'll actually cover that here in just a bit. Alrighty, so yeah, welcome back, guys. Welcome back to myself. Yeah, we'll get into it today. We'll pretty much cover, I would say, most of it. Yeah, we'll start with the market here. Market. Yeah, we'll start with the market in just a second. First and foremost, sorry for not being on the past, I don't even know how many days now. Just again, busy with moving and fixing this house and kind of have a deadline before some carpet and stuff goes in, so just been having to focus on that for the moment. But we're kind of starting to clear up, so as you can see, there's still no floors in behind me. You can see it's just subflooring right now, but anyways, so yeah, we're kind of starting to free up a little bit, so I should be able to get back to being pretty consistent here on the internet. Yeah, so we'll cover what we normally do, which is right now we have the S&P 500 with a big gap down. Pretty much we're back below the 50 SMA, so that means the market is in a neutral to bearish state. You should have already kind of been maybe thinking a little bit like that on Friday session, right? So last Friday, you could see the market had already been transitioning below the 50 SMA. So if you kind of look at the price action of Friday, what are we going to notice, right? Was over the 50 SMA, short-term long, market falls apart. Anytime a long does not, continue, it's going to go back to the 50. Whoa, I didn't even know I could do that. Interesting. Yeah, so, to put it simply, Friday we were positive just for a little bit, and then into Friday's session, or maybe it was Thursday, then into Friday, we started kind of chopping the 50 SMA, and then basically Friday's close was below it, and then into the after hours, and then over the weekend, they gap it down. So essentially this was kind of a bearish transition move that you really wouldn't be able to, I don't want to say you wouldn't necessarily be able to participate on, but it wasn't easy, right? So the market pretty much didn't make it easy for retail or really much of the market to be able to participate on this most recent drop. And that's because they pretty much just gapped it down. And so, as we already know, when the market's above the 50, it's positive. When it's below, it's negative and bearish, etc. So, ultimately what happened was we had a move up and over the 50 SMA. Market falls back to the 50 SMA, bounces it. Then you start to get that like descending triangle bouncing ball effect right into the 50 SMA over under, right? And then through the kind of after hours sessions, they pretty much just gap the market down, right? So the 50 SMA was the breakdown, but it just really couldn't really participate on it with the way they manipulated the market in the after hours. Whether they want to call it manipulation or just it is what it is, that's just what happened, right? And that's what happens, many times. So pretty much our bearish move wasn't really, you couldn't really participate in the sense it's a 50 SMA breakdown and catch it. You had to be in short before that drop essentially in order to participate on the gap down, all right? So that being said, market is on the negative side this morning with it being below the 50 SMA. It's also going to be below the 1 hour, or at least it should be. I haven't really looked. Yeah, I figured so. So we're in a neutral to bearish market. Now it becomes a matter of, are we going to bounce the gap down, or are we going to fade the gap down, or is it just going to be kind of a lackluster day, right? So that's where the brain goes. We're not gonna do a move back to the 50 SMA today. That would be very, 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 very unlikely. So really got kind of two options. You have the options of a gap and go, gap pullback, then go, or just kind of like a bounce or a shit day. So I guess there's three options there. So we'll run the gap down strategy. And if we don't gap it down and actually move it to the 161, then we're most likely going to be bouncing it back up towards some of like 58% retrace or 38.2 and 50% retracement levels, things like that. Yeah, so that all makes sense. I think we've already done our 30-minute volume weighted average price back test, so we don't really have that on deck. We can't really call that trade anymore. I mean, we guess we kind of could, but it's not the same anymore. So, yeah, that's that. Fair value gaps down there. Interesting. No problem, Mel. Appreciate you hanging out for today, or well, for a little bit. And actually, before we continue, I'm gonna grab just a quick coffee, so I'll be right back. I'm just setting some stuff up on another chart here, so my apologies, just give me a sec. Interesting. So first things first, I don't say first things first, but obviously if we start to backtrack back up, obviously pre-market high stuff, well I don't want to call it pre-market high, but kind of top down 30-minute volume weighted average prices, still a little bit of a magnet area. So sometimes the way I'd look at this is just pretty much as long as the market's below that, we could still roll the market down. We're going to have to wait till we get to the open to run any sort of gap down fib. So we'll wait on that till the open, if you will. So it's going to, again, like I said, we're going to get to the open. We'll run a gap down Fibonacci system. The only way that's really going to take place is if the market's just really meant to have a bearish day. I'm usually a little less optimistic on chasing the 161 for a gap down sell-off move on big gap down. So normally on big gap down days we're less markets just seem to be less optimistic about running downward continuation on big gap downs. It's not that it doesn't happen, it's not that it won't happen, it's not that it can't happen. Again, it just doesn't seem to work as well as gap ups, which also just kind of falls in line with the markets naturally go up more than they go down, and they go up for longer periods of time than they go down. So you're more likely to witness scenarios where the market is going up off of a gap as opposed to down off of a gap. So maybe that's part of it. But yeah, so even though I'm probably still going to run an SPX downside fib today, it doesn't necessarily mean that the markets are just going to chase it down. So far, that just doesn't really feel like what we're going to do, but I've been wrong many, many times when I say I don't think or the market doesn't feel, right? So, because it always does what it wants. So there's that strategy that we could be using today. The other strategy that we would arguably use or look for price action and markets to move to has already happened. That is the top-down VWAP, which you can see here in the blue line. I'm just going to take it off right there, just add it back. Right, so market opened up way earlier today and whatever, it goes down, and now we retrace to the VWAP and we essentially get resistance and pull back. So that little top point is a level at which people who have sold the market short or bet bearish on that little top, their volume would be concentrated at, which makes it a back test zone, if you will. And not only a back test zone, but it's kind of, if the market's going to stay bearish in more of a fun manner, then normally it would stay below that and roll down. So anyways, that's one of the strategy that's kind of already taken place today. So we've already done like the counter bounce, and then we've already had the first resistance check. So that isn't really there for the moment. There's a couple, I mean, there's so many different things, right? You have fair value gaps down here that you could say, oh, we're going to fill that. You know, there's many, many different things. But, you know, ultimately, the market is in a gap down, and the market is below its 50 SMA on the 30-minute and the 1 hour. Therefore, we know that the market is not on a bullish trend or bullish territory. All right. So whenever the market's below the 50 and the 1 hour, I mean, generally speaking, you think market is neutral to like a neutral state. When we say neutral, we mean if you're someone who is just a long bias participant or long bias trader, or, you know, just an investor, right? And you're thinking about the market today, right? You really are thinking to yourself, like, dang it, like today's probably not going to be a day where my portfolio is green, right? Because I know that the market is in a neutral state, right? Meaning we're not on bullish trend. And it's in a bearish state, meaning it's more likely to trade bearish, right? But in the event the bearish trend doesn't want to kind of last, then we may get a bounce and it's like a reversal day. So really just trying to prep your mind for, you know, the environment you're actually in. The environment is not trend positive right now, at least in the short terms. It is trend neutral to negative, and that's just what it is. And so any long bias stuff we see in the markets, whether it was today or if it was tomorrow or 2 days from now or whatever, that is what we call long bias action in bearish territory. So that's when you get reversals or you get bounces typically, right? V reversals happen after the markets have been moving bearish, right? So what we're in is a neutral to bearish state, and the markets at some point, sooner rather than later, will be seeking out eventual supports. And when those supports are found in a correct manner, the markets will then eventually bottom, and they will eventually reverse, and they will go back into a short-term long bias trending market. When that happens, the market will be bouncing or doing reversals and so on and so forth. So again, we're in a neutral to down state, seeking out supports in, the eventual, right? Because it's going to happen. And when it does, right, we're not going to be on a bullish trend state. We'd be on a bounce or an attempt to reverse the market into a positive state. All right, so yeah, that's that. When is it going to do that? Don't know. Don't really care, right? So hopefully that makes sense. And anything else new there? Not really. We're going to run into Bitcoin here real fast because obviously, all right? So you guys know for the longest time we've been talking about Bitcoin and talking about how it's going to bounce, and then when it does, we're eventually going to hit, well, we got very close to the targets, not quite, and then we're going to have a lower high, and then we're going to look for the lower high to go even lower, right? So we all know that that's pretty much the plan, at least here on this stream, which is only 2 of us, including, 3 of us. So not like a whole lot of people know what we're talking about, but that's okay. So we'll just kind of refresh everyone's memory, right? So for us here, we pretty much think that anything below the top down and this breaking volume weighted average price, like right there, or sorry, right here, all right? This is our kind of lower high counter target and then bearish continuation, right, on the daily, or that's the weekly. If we look at the daily would be like right here. So if we go to here, I mean, whether it's that candle or if you're looking exactly at this breakdown, etc., we can do it. Let's do it like that, right? So if you're looking at kind of this, then it would be the daily. So for us here on this stream, pretty much that zone right there, whether it was, like this daily right here I'm moving or the entire weekly, right? That was our long target destination, right? When Bitcoin fell all the way down here for the past couple weeks, what did we say? We said, hey guys, our long target back up for Bitcoin is going to be to the top down daily volume weighted average prices and the top down weekly volume weighted average prices. If I flip the time frame, that's what the weekly looks like. Let me add the new one right there. So that's what the weekly looks like. All right, so our long target is the volume weighted average price of the bear market top, at which point when we get there, we're going to expect a lower high that's then going to take us lower. All right. And if it's successful, what it's going to form is it's going to form what looks like a head and shoulders pattern, but it's not going to be a perfect one. It would actually be a head and shoulders with a lower right shoulder because the volume weighted average prices of the bear market top come in at a price that is just lower than the previous shoulder here. So we create what like a lopsided or an uneven head and shoulders sort of formation, if you will. But anyways, so that just really means that, Bitcoin, as it relates to what we discuss here, has hit the long target. So our target long is complete. If it does something wonky and whack and it goes back up, like, so be it. But just ultimately, in simple terms, right, if we were making a children's book, it would be we were looking for the markets to go to where? These boxes, all right? So when it crashed, consolidated / popped, that was our long target, whether it be here or up to here. And as it gets there, we're then going to look for the market to lower high and go down. Is this the start of it right now, that leg that we're getting? Maybe. Does it end up bouncing again and go up and then come? Maybe. But ultimately, the children's book pretty much just says to here, down. All right. So that's what we expect is going to happen. And we would maybe be wrong if at any point the market recovers and sustains above, right? So the way we would read the market right now is down, here, lower, and then above and up, right? So, yeah, so that's what we're going to probably see with Bitcoin, and we should all pretty much expect with Bitcoin for the moment. Oh, boy. Ugh. All right. What's next? Silver. Silver is all the way up to 86 this morning. Obviously, for the two of you, or maybe the couple of you, you guys know weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks ago, we talked about silver getting up into +3, +4 standard deviation, which basically puts it at 90 to like now $100. Let me double check that. I'm actually not entirely positive, but let's just double check. All right, so silver is gonna go, well, let's see, we're at, was it 87 this morning, or what the hell is it at? Let me just look at the L2 here, 86, 87 or so, or whatever it got to. All right, so we arguably still have silver going up to about $91 here to arguably $104 now. And I'm not going to get extremely euphoric here, or excited. I am excited, but if silver is going to do, I don't really listen to any of the crazy stuff on the internet, so I don't know if people are talking. I'm sure there's someone out there probably saying like 150 an ounce, maybe 200 an ounce. Who knows, right? But ultimately, the only way that could actually happen within like this current run is it would have to break above the +4, +3 sigmas, and then it would have to do like a supernova run, even though this is not a supernova because it's not a penny stock. But yeah, just the only way you could do that is you'd have to break through a +4. You'd have to do above a +4 sigma move, which is very, very rare for really anything and any stock and anything. So I would not be looking higher than $104.05 right now, just in general, because the only way we're going to break that and then continue within like the same structure is the market would have to get super duper like beyond euphoric, right? We're already kind of in a euphoric run, if you ask me. So to get over that would be pretty insane, and you'd have to have just a lot of euphoria for that to happen. Now, is the market going to get that euphoric? Is there enough euphoria? Maybe. I hope, because I still own gold and silver, so of course I'd hope that happens, but again, you'd be relying on, a lot of human psychology to all line up in a super euphoric manner, and then probably some luck, maybe a little more than luck. So we're just not going to bank on that because it's just not really logical. But fingers crossed it gets that crazy. All right, so there's that. And all right, so that's that. I think if silver hits a +3, +4 sigma top, then we're going to be seeing, what was I going to say? We're going to be seeing, I think we'll see gold top out. I think what's going to happen is we're going to see sympathy from silver trickle into the gold market, and then gold's going to pretty much whenever silver slows down is when gold's going to slow, you know, kind of slow down too a bit, in my opinion there. And the market is open. Let me bring back up the SPY here. Oh my gosh, I hate the highlighter tool. I always use it, but then I end up keeping it on, and see it's doing that weird thing. Sometimes TradingView doesn't quite register when I click the tool change. All right, so there's that long move right back to the volume weighted average price, as we pretty much discussed would be kind of the first kind of counter long target up in the short term. So that's pretty much done there. Just an FYI. Let's also go to SPX here. Huge gap down. Again, for the market to gap and go, that would be pretty wicked. So we'll see, but all right, so let's bring up SPX, right? So if SPX goes for its 161 target off of today's gap structure, that would put the market all the way down here, right? We'll see. Again, I am not so optimistic on that happening because it's just very rare that we do it on gap downs, but you never know. But if we do the big slide, that would end up being a destination area for the day. QQQ is still working its way, huh? Let's see. I guess that would answer that. Anything Bitcoin? Nothing crazy taking place with Bitcoin this morning. Oh yeah, I forgot I gotta add something here. I mean, I just kind of think, if anything, we're just kind of in like a little oversold, kind of bounce in the market for the moment, and then we got to wait for kind of resistance to catch up, if you will, before the market's ready to roll down more. Also, kind of getting my bearings straight. I haven't been here for the past couple days, so. Yeah, we got quite the wait time. Yeah, it said, or not said. Yeah, again, I think we're just kind of going to bounce the market until it's time for the market to go down more. I think we're kind of in just an oversold gap down. The market's not quite ready to fade. And then we got to wait at least for maybe like the 10 SMA to catch up, you know. So it's probably going to just kind of be like a slower, just whatever, oversold bounce, kind of hold until we start getting some, you know, things to catch up, in my opinion. But don't know when that's going to be, so we'll see. I mean, too, if you look, I'm on highlighter still. I mean, heck, where's the 10 SMA right now? Did I change the color of that? I thought I did. It's hard to see it. I didn't. Blue, right there. Yeah, heck, 10 SMA is all the way up at 691 right now, so. Yeah, I just feel like we're just going to be playing kind of like a waiting catch-up game for the moment. Oh, you know what, too? Let me just double check. We might be on a weekly and a daily VWAP here, which would also be another reason not to quite be bearish right now into this low. So we broke it down pre-market, so that would be there. Weekly. Oh, interesting. I thought we'd be above. There. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to confuse people with what I just did there. It's probably too much information, that one. But we do have some interesting levels. We're in between both a daily and a weekly, which basically mean, you know, just daily VWAP back test up here, weekly VWAP support here, etc. Interesting. Yeah, I would say too, if we look at the volume weighted average price from the break spot too, we've kind of reclaimed that. So you just kind of see the price action down, up above, grind up. We try to flip it, stay below, couldn't, back above. So I don't know. Like I said, I just think it's too soon for the markets to kind of just fade down. We do have some daily VWAP stuff all the way up at 683.95. Market could try to work towards. Just in general, I just think it's, again, too soon for markets to quite just go downwards. We kind of need just some things to catch up. Let's take a look at the market internals here. I haven't really looked at that too closely here this morning. Yeah, I mean, honestly, market internals, a lot of things aren't super strong this morning, obviously, being on the negative side. But right now, we kind of have the. Yeah, I mean, you kind of have the issues for the Magnificent Seven kind of just hanging out, almost trading sideways right now. So there's not a ton of strength in the market this morning. For the moment, that is. I mean, like I said, you have some of the S&P issues are moving, but the Magnificent Seven is pretty much flat right now. Again, you would arguably need that to pick up a little bit too if you really want the markets to kind of pick up any momentum to the upside. But for the moment, they're not doing a whole lot. Volume of the market's dropping right now a bit. Again, this could be a boring day in the sense that we just got a big gap down. We might not do a whole lot. It might just kind of hang down here. I'm hoping that we get something a little bit better than so far what we've seen. But yeah, like I said, we're not. It's not like we're transitioning the 50 SMA. You know, it's not like we're at the start point of a move. Again, we had the market break down the 50 SMA overnight, huge gap down, etc. So far, it just kind of is appearing we're kind of in more of a little bit of a digestion for the moment. Again, you don't have Magnificent Seven stocks running. It's going to be hard for the markets to just go up until that changes. Right now, the S&P issues are working upwards in the right direction, but Magnificent Seven big market cap stocks are not. So until those do, it's going to be harder for the markets to rally for the moment. Doesn't mean that that's going to, that could very easily change. So we'll see. Like right now, we're starting to get a little positivity on the MACD for the Magnificent Seven. So as long as it's not a fake positive MACD cross, we can see the market go up here. So it has to be legit. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'll put it on the screen. So you see how the MACD on the 1 minute is starting to flip positive here on some of the Magnificent Seven stocks. If that's legitimate and we get a little bit of positive momentum out of the Magnificent Seven, you see the market will go up. Ready? So if I zoom in on the market, sorry, one second. You see how we're starting to go up a little bit? And I'm trying to bring it back into focus. Where the hell did it just go? Oh, right here. Sorry, so you see that? It's not much, right? It wasn't a whole lot. But you can kind of see how, like I was saying, like there's just not quite enough momentum yet. The Magnificent Seven aren't really moving. But if they can kind of pick up a little bit, maybe. So it's kind of one of those things where a lot of times you need the Magnificent Seven to be moving for the markets to move, whether that's, bullish or bearish. And a lot of times, the 1 minute MACD can be a pretty decent signal. It's not too slow. It's not too fast. You know, sometimes it lags a bit, sometimes it doesn't, but it can be a pretty good guide, right? If we start to get some positive momentum here on the 1 minute chart for the Magnificent Seven, a lot of times we'll be a little bit more likely to see a little momentum into some of the S&P and the QQQ and things like that. But like I said, it's, you know, you can get false signals all the time. So it's one of those things where you can't like fully rely on it, you know, because there can be false signals all the time. But at the end of the day, when the momentum does in fact shift legitimately, that would be it tends to be a good indicator, if you will. Oh man. But see, like just in general, right? So even with that little green momentum, look at the market on the Magnificent Seven is still doing the same thing, which is just basically trading sideways, right? So again, all right, it's just trading sideways, flat and sideways. And look at our market so far today. What is it? I mean, it's the S&P's gone up a little bit, but ultimately it's just kind of been like a choppy sideways kind of up-ish move. You know what I mean? So, and if you look at the Magnificent Seven, it's a very similar pattern there. All right, so now we'd be into, well, that would make sense. 30 minute there. Oh boy, let's see what our 1 minute looks like. So we're probably coming into the 1 minute volume weighted average price here. Yeah. Yeah, I would say again, the market is very reliant on what happens with some of these Magnificent Seven issues here. Again, this is weird. I don't understand why it's not. I don't know. It's normally like it's this chart here is just being goofy. I can't see any of the, or did I turn it off somehow? Equities. Oh, that would make perfect sense. Like, what is going on? Thank you. That makes actually. I don't know if I actually like. Do I like that? That is interesting. So that actually changes over the MACD settings. That's weird. That is very, very not good now. Let's go back. I actually never knew that. That is quite something. Do 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 do. Again, you see how we're kind of popping a little bit there on the Magnificent Seven, and now as a result, we have, um, kind of popped the mark a little bit, whether you're looking at QQQ or SPY there some. And again, it's kind of, you can see the MACD on the Magnificent Seven has been on the positive side, so we're not really getting selling pressure there. It's taken a little bit. Again, now the market's popping. So again, right now, Magnificent Seven equities, pretty much holding sideways to up. So market not really moving down. Not really a surprise. Again, it's also a big gap down today. So, don't know if the markets are really trying to move lower off the gap. Clearly not. Clearly not. All right, let's go back to S&P. Just double check. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, GPs would be there all at the 616. I don't know if that's going to happen. Actually, let's see. Let's take this here. Yeah, we'll probably pull it back some. I know, super exciting day, super exciting. Again, market's just kind of doing its little oversold bouncing until it probably finds some resistance. That's what I would assume is probably going on. Let's just double check our SPX chart here. 10 SMA is still a decade away. So obviously what's going to happen here is we need a new 30-minute candle, and some of this stuff will recalculate a little bit. So another 6 minutes here, we're going to see the 10 SMA calculate downwards closer to price action, so on and so forth. Same thing with the 50 SMA. It's all going to start coming down some, but yeah, we just got to wait for that to another 6 minutes. Again, it's not that it's going to really determine what's going to happen in this moment, but we do need that to catch up. Let's take a look at what's going on. Nvidia's down, Microsoft is up a little bit. Well, price action, Google price action up a little bit, Apple's price action down, UPS up, down, up, down. Let's just do a quick run through the market so far. It doesn't look extremely healthy overall. Just on a quick couple ones I'm looking at, AMD's having a spectacular day. What's silver doing? Silver is at 85. Gold is at 435. Coca-Cola. Ooh. 10 years been creeping up lately. Market? I don't really know if interest rates will really be going down here. Bitcoin still not really doing anything too crazy. Still over the daily. Yeah, sorry, I'm just doing a lot of thinking to myself on this day, seeing if I'm missing anything. I mean, I've covered, a lot of the basis. I mean, we still have the daily 50 SMA here to deal with. Weekly, I mean, we're at the weekly 10, actually. That's kind of something. Yeah, we might be getting a little weakness here. We'll see. I don't really think too much is going to come of it anyways, but we'll see. Again, I just don't, right now I don't really see a big breakdown taking place. Maybe it does, but might be a little too soon. I mean, Magnificent 7 had a little pullback, so obviously the market did, but I don't know, it doesn't really seem like we're getting enough selling pressure to really take the market down here for the moment. We'll have to see more selling pressure than what we just got. Again, just so far a digestion day on the big gap down. So again, if you look here too, I mean, we've pretty much back tested our weekly 10 SMA. We might be rolling it down towards the daily 10 SMA as well. I mean, again, that would be right to about there. How to start? Yeah, I don't. How to start? Not sure exactly what you mean, but yeah. And there is a potential for the market to do a daily 50 SMA, kind of move to this low side here, 68365. Oh, that's just another moving average that's nearby, arguably on deck for the market. You know, I mean, I would say this is probably, so far it's shaping up to be a day we kind of expected so far. Kind of lackluster, choppish, digestion. But again, a lot of times that can happen off big gap downs like we just saw. So, brokers. I use TD Ameritrade. I have a NinjaTrader account, Lightspeed account, Webull account, Exodus, Tastyworks. There's a ton of different brokers you can use. You can use any one you really want, you know, whatever fits your needs, I guess you could say. And again, there's 1,000 different, you know, YouTube videos you could search online about, you know, brokers and who's good and, you know, what they're used for. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I mean, again, it's brokers are all very, they have different nuances between each. So really, it just comes down to searching them and checking their pricing and seeing which one may work best for you, and or whatever services they may offer, and so on and so forth. Each one of them again has their pros and cons. Again, guys, just be mindful. We still have that daily 50 SMA on the downside, 6,830 that we may be seeing that market work towards. And that's pretty much, I mean, not quite, but I would say that's pretty much it there. Again, it was at 6,830 or whatever. Whoa. Just got super lightheaded as I moved there. That was weird. Yeah, I mean, you know, as we've mentioned again, market is, Bitcoin to 89,000. Crazy. Who would have thought? Oh yeah, I guess I never really mentioned the short-term targets for Bitcoin. Actually, I might already have them mapped off on another screen. I think if I go here, it'll be here. Open anyway. Maybe not. Hold on. That's weird. Wait, that doesn't make... Oh, no wonder I'm like, hold on, something is not right here. Oh, no, they're not on there. Whatever. So, yeah. For Bitcoin, though, for the moment, we've already hit a few. But I'll just do the next one. So let's just see. Let's just double check. Yeah, so the next target down for Bitcoin is going to be that guy. Yeah, so Bitcoin should be moving to pretty much like here to here. I mean, we already knocked out like 3 or 4 of them on the way down, so that would be the next one on deck. And then once we get to about here, so Bitcoin's pretty close to kind of slowing down on the sell move. So as it gets to like right into here, we're going to start kind of slowing down, and then it's either going to try to bounce a little bit or, next breakdown. So Bitcoin's kind of finishing this leg right now. It's getting close to, if you ask me. All right, so the SPY has now moved down to the daily 50 SMA and whatnot, if you will. Actually, maybe I had that wrong a little bit. Or maybe I was looking at SPX. Let's just double check. Yeah, SPX down to there. Yeah, so that's happened now. Let's just check where our Fibonacci's at for this right now, too. Open. Oh, wrong one. Triple. What? I'm wrong with me. Yeah, I still don't really see that happening today. I don't think that's gonna play. What happened to the 10 SMA? Interesting. What? Oh, I'm on IC, that's why. Duh. Got it. Yeah, so far we got pretty much nothing here on the market. Just so far, just kind of a little sideways action. Let's take a look at the VIX too. What? Been a while since I've seen that guy. VIX. So VIX is just up, obviously. 5 to 5 minute. Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna have to wait. There's just nothing to really, just kind of all some small intra moves right now. Is what's going to be going on. VIX is up at 1919. I see. Oh, boy. Yeah, I mean, so far you can, I mean, I have so many different little strategies. I can just always kind of paint the chart with a bunch of different stuff, but you can see we're still just working resistance right now off of the top down volume weighted average prices. Again, remember the market is in a neutral to bearish state. We are not trend positive right now. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Keep it in mind. Again, market's neutral to bearish. We're just waiting on some catch up. We're not supposed to be just looking extremely long bias in the markets for the moment. All right, just same old, testing VWAPs off high. So you can see we've had 1 move down, 2 move down, 3 move down, counter in, higher low, breakthrough, little popper magoo. Wow, chat is super busy today. Just can barely keep up with all the questions and commentary this morning. I know, crazy, super cray. Alrighty, so yeah, what's happening? I don't really know what to say other than everything we've already said, which is just expecting kind of a bouncing, grinding day. Again, really the takeaway is just when the market has a really big down move like this, again, it's a lot of times it's hard to fade the market down right away. You're usually waiting for moving averages and resistance to catch up and knock it back down, / the market bounce too, and then reevaluate essentially. But anyways, all good. Oh boy. Right now we got some S&P issues moving up, NASDAQ issues moving up, the Magnificent Seven trying to move up. Yeah, if those could get a little bit of a break there, that would definitely help the market. The market is now back to the daily volume weighted average price we discussed at 68396. Well, you know what? We might just end the stream there. I think it was a beautiful morning. I mean, 10:30, a little early. Nah, whatever. It's not like we're too busy here. Doesn't seem like a whole lot of people have questions. So we'll just call it in a day there. Like we said, it's probably not going to be a big sell-off day. Even though the market's in a neutral to bearish state, we're waiting on resistance catch-up. So what we're seeing so far is kind of that choppy, lacklustery, but now kind of moving good, bouncing long after an oversold gap down. So essentially markets perform just as we really would expect it should on a day like today. So that being said, I'll catch you guys back tomorrow morning. Maybe you'll have some questions tomorrow, maybe not, but we'll see. That being said, we'll catch you guys on the next stream. Cheers.